I'm going to read the order of data for a particular person that matches the name Andrew Russell Kaufman, who is a doctor, a psychiatrist, but has this history. MIT Bachelor of Science, Molecular Biology, 1995, after being in high school. From 2000 to 2004, Medical University of South Carolina, Doctor of Medicine achieved. So that would amount to 95. That's almost 10 years worth of education. First part is a Bachelor of Science, Molecular Biology. 2007, became a Facebook user. 2009, Duke University Psychiatry Residence Program for being a psychiatrist. 2009, New York State medical license based on the South Carolina degree. And the license number is 252397. Expires this year, according to the records that I could find. That doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate. It could be obviously re-upped, but that's the information I found so far. 2009-2010, New York Upstate Medical University Forensic Psychiatry Residency Program, Psychiatry. 2012, working within and being the founder of the company called Xenia Safety Systems, LLC. Same year, the Ohio State Medical Board had a consent agreement for probation with license number in Ohio, 3509-1406. Ohio Board imposes probationary terms through a consent agreement with those alleged to have committed a violation. This specifies that the probation terms will remain in place for a minimum period of a certain number of years. By request, the physician released from probation 2015, so that was for 3 years. 2010 to 2015, SUNY, paged up. SUNY, Upstate Medical University Assistant Professor in Psychiatry. So, except for a period of time before 2004, not really a medical practitioner, and there's no records of any kind of activity in the past that indicate this person was involved in molecular biology after getting an MIT Bachelor of Science. Look up how many years that takes. Now that means the person would learn the rudimentaries and be usable in the lab or not. You'd have to look up what that was in 1995 versus today's world. Self-employed consultant 2016, YouTuber 2017, New York State medical license expires and it's 252397. What is the description this person posted about their own abilities and own specialties? A forensic psychologist. That's the term that's stated. Not a person who studies biomedical issues anymore, not a person who's done anything since that time a long time ago in this area. Makes claims that are based on a very specific way of investigating things, something that might appeal to you, but are not necessarily useful for making certain assertions. Forensic psychologist is a subspecialty within psychiatry focusing on the interrelationships of criminal and civil and administrative law, evaluating and specializing treatment of individuals involved in the legal system, incarcerated in jails or prisons, or held in psychiatric wards and hospitals. That's his specialty. The listing for the licensing this person carries is under allopathic and osteopathic physician. That's an interesting way to put it. Subspecialty, psychiatry and neurology, psychiatry, forensic psychiatry, NPI number 1568633949, affiliated with Upstate University Hospital, not accepting new patients, Medicare or Medicaid. Activities stated by the person to be treating: ADHD and ADD, antisocial personality disorder, homicidal ideation, dreaming about murder, non-dependent amphetamine or related acting, sympthomimetic abuse, non-dependent drug and alcohol abuse, personality disorders, yes, I probably mispronounced that one word, psychotherapy and physiopsychology therapy, including biofeedback, and cessation of tobacco use and tobacco use disorders. Only 2 publications offered on any subject. Now, this is where you would find somebody doing a paper on molecular biology or something. Suicidal ideation among inmate patients in state prisons. Prevalence, reluctance to report, and treatment preferences. Survey of forensic medical health experts on pro se competence after Indiana versus Edwards. Indiana versus Edwards affected how you declare someone competent to stand trial, I'm assuming. I'll find a link for it. Claims made by this person that I could dig up without having to go too far. If this person wants us to know who he is, why doesn't he give you the middle name? And remember, this is for Andrew Russell Kaufman. So far, that's all I found. It's the only one it matches by age and appearance. Now we'll go to the claims made by the person who claims that COVID-19 and coronavirus are caused by human beings sloughing off some sort of magical thing so that you can deny viruses exist and bacteria exist and that there's no such thing as germs. If you're being fed this dog food, that's fine. Make sure it's dog food. Claims to have discovered that psychiatric drug studies are flawed, as he found some that had no appreciable positive effect on patients in comparison with placebos. So that means he discovered homeopathy. If something fails a basic FDA test of, not safe, but is it effective at all? If it has no effect, if it's not even above a placebo, then it gets relegated to being food supplement or homeopathy. Things you can't prove work, but at least they don't hurt you. If they could cause harm, then it's considered unsafe and non-effective, and it's banned because it causes a bunch of complications. So basically, he said he found out there was a bunch of FDA tests or whatever for psychiatric drugs that had no useful effect. He didn't mention whether or not they were allowed to go to market, and he didn't mention any specific ones. But this led him to the conclusion that most doctors could, or can be considered, or maybe should be considered, just prescribers of drugs, and that's it. Except that you know about doctors that actually do surgery and stuff, diagnose things, help you avoid diseases, do preventative medicine, and have efficacy. They can actually make something useful happen. Explaining his findings on viruses and their transmission, gives an example. Tissues and fluids from a sick person can be put into a person who's healthy, and the transmission of the disease won't occur. Ergo, diseases don't exist. If you're a kind of person who's gone way beyond the bend and decided that diseases don't exist and they have to be some other magical thinking thing, that's fine. Germ theory denial is fine, along with deciding you're not going to personally get immunized or anything. However, in the rest of the world, instead of whatever world you're living in, we have to actually deal with the consequences of viruses and diseases and bacteria that you can actually see under a microscope. Yes, you can see microscopic viruses. So here's your little bit here for one of the keywords. I'm going to read back here. What is, I may be retreading this, exosome or exosome. It's E-X-O-S-O-M-E. What is that? Well, there's 2 meanings for that word, so people tend to be very specific. An exosome complex, or it can also be referred to as a PM/SC, I think it's L here. Someone decided to use the lowercase l, and lowercase o could be I. It's a multi-protein intracellular complex capable of degrading various types of ribonucleic acid, RNA, molecules. Okay, that's something that can affect RNA when going between cells, or maybe inside of cells, but it can go outside of a cell. It can exist between cells. But you have to call it an exosome complex or some other specific name because exosome gets confused a lot. The term exosome should be strictly applied to an extracellular vesicle of endosomal origin. Okay, bear with me. It can be difficult to prove such an origin after this has left the cell. Variations on the term extracellular vesicle are often appropriate instead. Now, here's a simple set of questions. This person is supposed to have studied the bare minimum Reader's Digest Wikipedia version of these explanations. When you say exosome, you're being vague unless you specify what kind. I'm sure he did. because there's immediately a need for this because it's a disambiguation page on freaking Wikipedia. Exosome means outside of. Exo and some. Chromosome. What about an exosome? Well, that's an external chromosome, right? Well, no. Chromosome actually has a meaning too. You can look up the word origins for this and we can play word games. But the point is, did this person make a video explicitly telling you which one of these he's referring to? Or is he using the word vaguely? Next, why would he claim something that's well-defined in one case and is a really bad word to use and you should be much more specific in another case, will turn into coronavirus or COVID-19, and then tell all of you what you want to hear, that the virus is a lie. And this entire disease is just created so that Donald Trump can't get reelected. Right. The entire fucking universe revolves around some petty bullshit argument between political organizations in the United States. I'm sure the entire world gives a shit. And you really believe this. And now that is actually where this is being leaned to. Okay, let's do the layering on this. This is a layer yellow cake. Denying viruses exist is like denying Jews exist so you can try to explain the Nazis. Denying viruses exist means that you can then say vaccines are not needed. It's an escape hatch from the argument that vaccines prevent people from getting sick. So often that it becomes an actual problem when vaccines do have what is the percentage of negative reactions or bad reactions? Well, it's millions of people. No, it fucking isn't. Look up the number of people per year that have a negative reaction to a vaccine. There is a death rate to it. This is something important. If you treat somebody with medicine, any kind of medicine, there has to be an effect on the person or it's a placebo, as this guy should agree to. So that means that it has to have positive and negative effects. It isn't always positive. Okay, some of them are, but very few of them. Well, I don't like that answer. I don't care. And yeah, vaccinations can have negative reactions. They're rare, but they happen. No, it's not because of mercury, thimerosal, or any of the other shit. It's just the nature of you using a chunk of DNA from a disease and trying to teach the body to recognize it and attack it. That's what it's for. You're training an immune system to attack it. I don't like vaccines because of political or ideological reasons. Yeah. But then again, homeopathy is literally based on giving your body a sample of something that it's supposed to go ahead and react to and making it have an overreaction to it by doing that. Yeah, homeopathy is based on the same idea a vaccine is, except homeopathy doesn't fucking work and vaccines do. And they do it in such a very obviously demonstrated way that people have to literally make up shit to try to disprove they exist for some reason. The reason, if you're not aware of it, that the anti-vaccine movement started is because of the draconian methods that people used to convince people they had to get vaccinated. It became a real problem. But you're not required to get vaccinated. You may be in an area where the children are required to get vaccinated. But this then twists into, well, let's deny viruses exist and let's deny germs exist. Because you start reading about it and learning, well, if we decide viruses don't exist, then bacteria doesn't exist, so cholera can't happen. So you have cholera truthers and vaccine truthers and germ truthers. And these people desperately want validation because everybody in the medical industry, I called it that, you should too, and your local doctor will tell you, no, anti-vaxxers are bullshit artists. There's only a few of them that ever bring it up and actually take it seriously. And if they have a reasonable explanation for it, that's great. And you'll immediately bring up at least a dozen people that you're taught to bring up, to sandbag you, to sabotage your opinion. You'll bring up, well, vaccines cause X. And then when you look up the source, it's a specific person who falsified his data every fucking time. Next, again, I'm going to repeat. This is a psychologist who's playing a psychological game on a group of people that desperately want validation, and he's feeding them to study them. If it's psychiatrist Andrew Russell Kaufman, find out what his middle name is and have him explain to you what exomes really are. That way you can narrow down what he's talking about. If he doesn't specifically tell you what it is, get it really fine detail and type it up and put it up on the web so we can archive it so it's not us listening to a 1-hour video. I wouldn't trust the guy. That's my personal opinion. And by the way, it could be the wrong guy. You prove me wrong. That's how it works, right? Thanks for watching. Goodbye.